It's mornings like this that I find really difficult. Things, well, first off, it's Sunday, and things started off well, and because of my decisions, things didn't exactly end up well. So I'm having a hard time. First of all, I'm supposed to be at church. I'm not there. I don't know who to reach out to or how to go about trying to figure out what's going on in my heart. But I simultaneously have a sacred reverence for the church as the body of Christ. But I have a uncouth irreverence for the church as an institution. And as I've grown, as I've gotten older, and what I feel like has become more mature, I still haven't outgrown what I don't know what it is anymore. I thought it was an immaturity. But I'm back in the season now where I want to go to church for the reasons that church exists, to fellowship, to encourage one another, to grow, to lead, be led. And that's an area that I struggle with the most, is being led. We've broken the 2-year, or maybe even a 3-year not curse, but habit of not lasting anywhere more than 2 or 3 years. And been very intentional, me trying to submit to the process. But here we are again. This time around, I came in not wanting to be involved in at least a bit as far as how I've been involved in the past. I just wanted to warm a pew. That was my intention 5 years ago. I just want to warm a pew, do Bible study, get to where the kids are being taught well. And I'm going to warm a pew. I'm not going to, get involved. But that, lasted all of maybe 6 months. Then I got involved in youth, which has been an incredible experience with the youth, and a tragedy in my heart with the institutional side of ministry, even in youth. My involvement this time was to the extent that I ended up getting on staff, and I did 18 months on staff at my church. And in that 18 months, I got to now see what in the past experiences at church, I got to see my church's version of taking care of business. I got to go behind the curtain and be a part of now the institution that has always been a challenge to me. This time I no longer had the excuse of, well, they fill in the blank. I was they. I was in the staff meetings. I was in the room when decisions were being made. I, to whatever extent, took part in those decisions and played my role. And so I was complicit in the happenings, the machinations of the institution. Now, I didn't last long. I didn't last long because of my choices. The requirements to do the job, I'll say the institutional requirements to do the job, which are similar requirements that you'd have at any job as far as administrative tasks, communicating with other staff members, communicating with patrons or clients or customers, in this case communicating with parents, and those tasks weren't beyond me, but their demands exceeded my capacity to simultaneously connect and draw deeper relationships, not simply for myself, but draw into relationships with youth, and by extension, or maybe the inverse is true, the relationships with God. So the ministry portion, what I call ministry, which is the actual connecting, facilitating connection, facilitating discussions, facilitating growth, opportunities for the future of the young men and women, that was always super pleasant. But all of the institutional administrative tasks that were necessary to carry out those opportunities and to actually facilitate those connections were too much. And often I found myself bound to trying to do my job as was required in terms of making sure that the communication and the website and all of the administrative tasks that are necessary to do the job were getting done, and doing my job, which is to help or to be a part of developing the spiritual lives of young men and women. Many times, and I feel this way still, that's why I'm no longer there, thought so much of what we were trying to do on the administrative, on the institutional side, relative to the number of people perhaps that I was serving, and families extended, included, it didn't justify the emphasis on the importance of those tasks. Not saying they're not important, but the emphasis on their importance was much greater than how the students are actually doing, how the kids are growing, where are their hearts, where are their minds, what are they really grappling with in this stage and the changing stages of life. And that was challenging. It wasn't worth it to me, and it still isn't. It isn't worth it to me to relative to the number of people we're talking about. I can understand if there were, hundreds or thousands of people that we had to try to facilitate this for, but a small number of people, to me, is opportunity to really go deep with, didn't justify that. And so after leaving, I've decided, and I'm supposed to be there now, but just to volunteer. One of the things that was brought to my attention before my leaving, because I suggested, hey, look, maybe it's just better that I'm not here, was, well, you'll lose your voice, your say-so, and the happenings, the machinations of what happens in that particular ministry. Though I didn't voice this, I'll say it now. Well, quite frankly, I don't care about the machinations or the operations or the decisions. I care about the students. Maybe that's foolish of me to only look through this lens, but for my sake and my ability to actually serve without any, I don't know which word to use, but any resistance. It requires me not to concern myself with too much outside of the spirit. And again, I don't know if I've said this yet, but I'll say it now. I'm not suggesting that, the spirit wasn't being emphasized and that the importance of spiritual growth wasn't there. But I am suggesting that it was an afterthought relative to how important it is and was for us to do things a particular way. So I find myself here now, in a similar state that I was prior to coming here, which is I want to be in the church. I want to be involved. I want to be part of growth. I want to be part of something that's special. My parents always, they told me, find where God is working and go there and reach him there. I think they said it a little differently, but essentially it's wherever the Lord is at work, go be part of that. And for me, the most difficult thing currently is I'm unable to see past how things are going. Not that I want to change it, but I'm unable to see past how things are going, knowing the back end story, the back end of how decisions are made. And so the importance of keeping the boat afloat, regardless of whether the passengers live or die. And that's my opinion. And I think it's a little critical, maybe overly critical, but that's just how I feel currently and have felt for a while, is the boat floating is the most important. People will come and people will go. Some will live, some will die, some will thrive, some will fail to thrive. But as long as the boat is upright, hasn't sunk, everything will work out in the wash. That's probably true. And, I really feel like my position is, I don't like to say I'm complaining, And maybe I am, but I want to be simultaneously part of something that's growing and healthy, and maybe part of the solution, but I'm not willing to play according to the rules. And that's my problem. That's my choice. And that often leads me right here, where I'm not in, I'm not out, and I slowly just fade out of the picture and go somewhere else. So this morning, my wife let me know, because she recognizes the pattern. She recognizes what happens and where I am now and where I've been in the past. And she sees that I'm ready to move forward or move on or move past or go somewhere else. And she's not. I don't know if I'm ready to move on, move forward, and move past. But I know that I want to be part of what God is doing. And maybe I just need to develop, or God needs to help me get a desire to, or a will to look past things that are evident, that need work, that need restoration, revision, and just focus on whatever it is I'm supposed to focus on. But I find myself every day when I go in, instead of focusing on the word, the truth, the spirit, I am noting and recognizing why things are the way they are, and understanding that, and whether it's good or whether it's bad. When I talk to people and they express their discontent with the current situation, you know, leadership changes, decisions being made, though presented to the folks on the boat as a corporate decision, a united decision, really it's more like the captain deciding something, and that's just it. So putting committees together, but not really empowering them or allowing them to do what their intended purpose is. So therefore making decisions outside of that. And it's difficult. I wish I could say I don't care about that, but I recognize that it affects the whole body. I just want to be helpful. I don't want to cause trouble, but I don't mind stirring things up if it means that we can get back on the path of growing closer to the Lord, and by extension, bringing others close to the Lord. I don't think I'm holier or better than anybody that's making the decisions. I can sit here and describe how I feel about those decisions, but well, I've been in the room. I've been in a position Uh, I was part of that. Maybe I didn't have that big of a voice, but I was a voice in the room. I didn't use it well, and that's on me. But I also didn't feel like it was possible, and I still feel that way. And given how things go, that's often the case where a decision is made or coerced or decided upon by maybe a minority, and everybody else is just supposed to go with it. Um, Makes it really difficult to follow. Makes it really difficult to sit under, look past when I'm trying to serve, connect with students, connect with people, knowing that in the back of my mind, I don't know if these people matter as much to the decision makers as we believe we do, myself included. Which is the other side of this, the difficulty of trying to navigate after being part of or being in the room where I could be part of the solution and then deciding not to be. I'm left with, well, what, you had your chance. Why do you have to say, if you wanted to do something about it or be part of the solution, you shouldn't have left. And that's true. But if there is no base or foundation or really a search for a solution, or even deeper, a recognition of an actual problem that needs a solution, a recognition of the real problem, not just surface level problems that we react to and think they're not that deep. But if there's not a recognition of a problem that's needing a solution, it makes it really difficult to be part of a solution, because some people may not think there's a problem, but there is. So I guess, like the Israelites, Exodus is due, and maybe there's going to be just a wandering season, 40 years or however long of just wandering. Maybe one day, I don't know, I'm not counting on it, but maybe one day we'll land somewhere that's somewhat equivalent to the promised land, where, though it may be exactly where we belong, may not be perfect, and certainly I won't be perfect. And yeah, maybe I could be faithful there. So, yeah, here's to trying to be more faithful. Yeah, I guess not showing up is not really indicative of that. Yeah, should probably do something about that.